Hello gorgeous ones, Dr. Lucy again. It's Thursday morning here and I've just hopped out of the shower, but I have had time to sort of, put a bit of moisturiser on and look after my skin. I'll just wait till a few of you pop on because I've got a super interesting topic this morning. It's insulin because, the topic for this month is all about insulin, or this week I should say, is all about insulin. And you know that at Real Life Medicine, we love talking about insulin. Our two things that we love talking about, insulin and how to lower it, and then the mindset so that you can actually do what you know that you need to do. So it's a kind of a two-pronged approach. But this week it's really about the insulin. So we have talked over the last 3 days about insulin, about some of the things that it causes and how it relates to blood pressure, how you can test your insulin, and then, I know that you know this, and I'm hoping that you know this, that the absolute key to lowering your insulin is to do real food, low carb, or low carb, real food. LCRF is our acronym, low carb, real food. So I put a link on our page today to an article posted by the Metabolic Health Summit, which actually explains beautifully how insulin is related to Alzheimer's disease. So, Alzheimer's is a disease of the brain, and it's due to an excess of these proteinaceous, that's a good word, plaques sort of building up in the brain and therefore stopping the connections. Because as you know, thoughts are just connections between two nerve cells. So if you've got a big fat plaque blocking that, then that nerve cell, that thought is gone, which unfortunately impacts memory and working memory for these people. So basically what they were saying is that insulin, when we pump out insulin, like everything, we also break it down. So we make and break. So our breaking down, there's an enzyme, a breaking down insulin enzyme. It's also the same enzyme that breaks down plaques that are forming in the brain. So these little plaques forming in the brain can be broken down. However, the same enzyme is breaking down insulin and breaking down the plaque. The problem is, so they're competing. And the thing is, insulin is the king of the world. It wins. So that enzyme goes, right, I've got to get rid of all this insulin first. So it does all that, and then it runs out for the plaque. So the plaque just gets to build up. That's kind of the summary in a very layman's term. So one of the things, if you can keep your insulin low, then there is enough enzyme to go and break down the plaque, and that's wonderful. So there's a whole host of things being coined now. There is a wonderful term that I quite like called type 3 diabetes. Now, it's not super popular within the medical community yet. If you went to your GP and said, I think I've got type 3 diabetes, they would think that you were, tiny bit nuts. But if you and I know that what we're talking about really is just an excess of insulin. So, the way to lower your insulin, three things I spoke about on Monday or Tuesday. 3 ways to lower your insulin. Low carb, real food. That's the number one. I should probably say that's number 1, 2, and 3, but it's not. Number 1, low carb, real food. Number 2, fasting. Okay, fasting is a very powerful way to lower insulin. It's very hard to do if you're not doing low carb because you sort of run out of fuel. That's a whole story. Number 3, medication for some people, metformin. It's the only one no, it's not the only one. It's the first line for people that really need to lower their insulin. And we use that in all sorts of things, certainly type 2 diabetes, polycystic ovarian syndrome, things where we want to lower insulin. Now, you can do it. You can do it with low carb real food. Absolutely you can. I've seen people with crazy high insulins who lower by doing low carb real food. And, and this can happen at any age. I've got people in their 70s who have come, they've got, underlying things going on, check their insulin, and their insulin is crazy high. They've gone on to a low carb real food approach. Insulin has dropped. 2 people I can think of off the top of my head, and there's more. One guy's lost 50 kilos. Another lady I know has lost 75 kilos. And this is without surgery, without a sleeve, without bariatrics. This is just doing their low carb real food approach. Interestingly, neither of these two needed metformin. Okay? So you can do it without it, but sometimes it's necessary. Okay? We don't need to demonize our tools. That's all they are. They are tools to help us. So the key, right? The key, lovelies, we have to keep the insulin low to avoid ongoing chronic disease and have a wonderful life ahead. For some people, they just get in and do it. It's like, great. For other people, and I was one of these, we were victims of diet culture. Okay, diet culture that actually programs us to measure our success as being a number on the scales. That can be really, really disruptive. And it's, interestingly, as a weight loss doctor, the number on the scales is often the least important thing to me. So changing that, and it's hard, it is really hard, I get it. I stop on the scale 6 times a day. Oh my God, seriously. Ditching the scales has been liberating for that point, but it's all about trust. So I won't ramble on too much because I'm digressing from my original topic of insulin, because it's all about the insulin. And then the second step is actually having that mindset so that you can implement the changes that you and your body desperately need to do. My lovelies, that's it for today. If you want to look at that article that I talked about, it's on the Real Life Medicine page. I shared it from Metabolic Health Summit. It's a lovely explanation for you. And, just go forth, have a wonderful day, low carb real food, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, darlings.